Right, now welcome back. A downgrade seems to be a constant looming possibility waiting to happen on South Africa's economy these days. 2 days ago, Moody's placed 5 of the country's SOEs on immediate review for a downgrade. The rating agency warned that it could cut the investment grade of Eskom, Sanral, the Industrial Development Corporation, the IDC, the Development Bank of Southern Africa, the DBSA, as well as the Land Bank, basing this move on whether the companies will continue to have access to the debt market in the future. Well, joining us now to make some sense of it is Lesiba Mothata. He is the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions. Lesiba, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
And welcome to the program. And I see you going Commander too.
Oh, I've got the sticker, you know.
You've got the sticker too. Right. I think this is going to be the word of conversation today. It really
That's
is.
Right.
But we didn't bring you in to talk about that. We brought you in to talk about these downgrades. I mean, a fortnight ago, Future Growth announcing their decision to withdraw funding from these institutions. Right. Now we're hearing from Moody's about possible downgrades. What is going on? I mean, how bad is the state of these entities?
It's clear that there are funding concerns. As it stands right now, the National Treasury has put aside guarantees worth 470 billion rands to make sure that these state-owned enterprises are continuing to function properly. Admittedly, that number, 75% of it, is towards Eskom, and we need electricity, and it's good that we haven't had power failures, etc. But the others, there seemingly are problems in terms of profitability, in terms of productivity, and also efficiencies around those state-owned enterprises. Moody's, I think they're beginning to get concerned about the likelihood of going forward that they may not be able to be as profitable enough to sustain the debt levels that we see happening in that sector.
Yeah, I mean, to read the statement from Moody's, this is the line they used. South Africa's credit rating could be downgraded by the end of the year if government fails to end political infighting, lift economic growth, and reform debt-ridden state companies. These are harsh words. They're hard words. And I mean, let's break it down, because we saw, and we're covering it in our news now, we saw the president talking about that there is absolutely no political infighting. Again, we saw our deputy president speaking about the fact that there's no political infighting. And yet that's clearly not what the world is seeing right now. Indeed.
What needs to happen is we need to have one view, one strategy, speak in one outcome as a country. It's not ideal when you get different parts of government or even strategies that conflict with each other. That said, with Moody's, as harsh as they sound, they still have a constructive view on SA credit relative to the other two, which would be Standard & Poor's and Fitch. So if they do downgrade, we need to just remember they will be catching up with the rest. Already, the adverse assessment of SA has happened with Standard & Poor's and with Fitch. It is more ominous when those two come out with harsh words like that. But if Moody's is talking in that, it's in the price. You can see it in how the markets are responding to it. You can see in how the bond yields are responding to it, even to some degree the currency. It is not a great thing, but they're catching up.
Yeah. What would you say is the common thread between these SOEs that we've mentioned? You know, why them, since they're really not the only state-owned enterprises in South Africa? There are many more, but why specifically these ones?
It's because they're great assets, and they have the capacity to be turned around. There is just not enough energy or agility to making sure that happens. If you recall, earlier in the year there was a trip that was taken to Beijing to learn on how to reform state-owned enterprises. There has been commitment put down to make sure that these state-owned enterprises are reformed. That has not really come through. What needs to happen is we need to reduce debts. They need to be more profitable. They need to be leaner and thinner. That's what's required here, and that's not coming through. So a lot has been said, a lot has been promised, but the delivery hasn't happened, and that's where the frustration comes. But on the credit side, and when rating agencies look at the quality of credit that that these companies should be judged at, it is quite a problematic outcome, because the cost of funding, because of this lack of energy, agility, impetus to introduce reform, what will mean is we'll pay a lot more when we borrow.
Now, just a final question. I think it's quite an important question. You know, when our Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, was asked about a possible downgrade, he said there's a 50% chance of avoiding it if all the parties come together. Now, let's take what our President said in Parliament. He said that what South Africa is going through is not unique. It's a global phenomenon, and we mustn't just look at it in an isolated case of South Africa.
Yeah.
But would you say that's the case? I mean, with all this political uncertainty in South Africa at the moment, I mean, have other countries got the same sort of, you know, that may have political stability, but the economic situation is different? I mean, if our political situation was stable, would it be a different scene?
You know, if you just looked at our peers, and here I'll mention two countries of interest, Brazil and Turkey. In those countries, in terms of political issues, economic issues, they admittedly look worse than we do. That is not to say that we can sit on our laurels and say that everything is working out. We have not seen a downgrade happen in SA, and it ought not to be led to that outcome. So I agree with the minister who had said that if they work together, and I think specifically he's referring to this discussion between business and government and labor needs to come together, as they've done earlier, which actually helped to avert a downgrade, that we need to continue on that front, but much more now to demonstrate implementation. It is, in my mind, it is an outcome that can be avoided. Okay. This December decision that's looming, it can be avoided because there are other stars aligned globally that are helping SA.
Good.
China is doing better. Europe is not imploding. The US is strong. We're seeing strong exports. Seemingly can prove to be a lot more sustained because demand out of Asia and Europe is strong on commodities. All that can help SA, and we can deal with this issue.
Good as possible.
Yeah.
Lesiba, let's leave it there. Lesiba Mothata is the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, talking to us about this possible downgrade that is unfortunately looming on South Africa at the moment. All right, let's take a break here on the program. In the next